wife makes fun of me. She catches me walking around the house listening to this podcast. It's true. So don't you think that's a little bit narcissistic to listen to your own podcast, sweetheart? But I like it, I tell her. I'm my own audience, I say. So I was listening back to the last three episodes. It was a triple dip, split it in three. Season Team, Boombox, and Scream. We did the 1989 Cubs, Matthew, and 1956 Topps guy. Thank you again. And there's just some wonderful collector nuggets. If you haven't listened, I highly recommend it. Some of them are just kind of like throwaway lines, and we couldn't dig into everything, but it's really fun to have a conversation with collectors who are more advanced than I am, and certainly Matthew is, and it's just so fun to pick his brain. There are a couple things that just almost just have little throwaways. One, if you listen, one thing he says is, I don't transact all that often. It's not all the time on eBay, buying, or shopping. I don't transact all that often. I thought that was something. I think the less I transact, the fewer transactions I make, probably the fewer purchases I regret, and the more my collection makes sense. He talked about that. He also, interestingly, eBay and some Facebook groups, private sellers, getting to know dealers, but not an auction house guy, which really surprised me. Some of those beautiful cards, I actually didn't think they would be eBay, but yes, some of them are from eBay, some are from dealers, but not an auction house guy. There's one thing that Matt and I were talking about, we were messaging, that we didn't talk about on the pod, but I want to bring to you. He said, we forgot to talk about constraint. And I wrote back, do you mean constraint or restraint? And he said, constraint, right? To build in some collecting boundaries, right? And it made me think about constraint versus restraint. Restraint is holding ourselves back. I'm not going to buy this. It's sort of white knuckling. It's I'm restraining myself from buying this thing because I want to buy it so bad. Doesn't necessarily make sense, but I want it. I'm going to try to restrain myself. I'm going cold turkey this month. I'm restraining myself. I'm not buying any cards. It's like a negative freedom. I'm holding myself back. It's a freedom from this action, whereas a constraint, constraints can be liberating, right? By being discriminating, by being selective, by defining our collections, by setting guardrails, parameters, boundaries, right? Here's a good example. I've kind of been toying with long-term doing a history of the Giants through cards, New York and San Francisco. I've already got some of the key ones for San Francisco, but barely any for New York. So I started looking into the Hall of Famers, and Joe McGinnity, Iron Joe McGinnity, is a Hall of Fame pitcher for the Giants. Once pitched 400 plus innings, and I was looking at one of his cards. He had T206, but he's on Newark in that card. He's a minor leaguer. It's 1909, 1911, T206, Joe McGinnity. I looked at that card. Now, if it is restraint I'm practicing, I'm not buying that card because I'm trying to buy the Bambino 1933 Gowdy Babe Ruth card 149, the red one. And if I'm going to spend on anything significant, I want to keep it to the short list of cards I've been collecting. So I'm going to restrain myself because I want to get that Babe card. I don't need that T206. A month ago, that wasn't in my radar. I'm going to restrain myself and have some self-discipline. Same card, 1909, 1911, T206, Joe McGinnity. A constraint could say, listen, Dave, you're trying to put together the history of the Giants through cards. McGinnity is not in a Giants uniform. It says right across the chest, Newark. So don't buy it. If you're trying to build a beautiful collection, you need some constraints. You really want to make it crystal clear. That probably should be a card that says Giants on the jersey. He has a 1908, a caramel, where he does say Giants. I'm not so hot to buy that one. It's significantly more expensive. But that's fun to think about. Constraints and restraints. Leave a comment. Tell me what you have going. How are you at restraining yourself, and what kind of constraints do you put on your collecting? I know I have some constraints, and I know they're not always ones I perfectly adhere to, and I know that having self-restraint, restraining myself, isn't something I can always do with pleasure. One of the things I love about doing this podcast is it allows me to buy a lot of real cheapies, a lot of $1 card, $2 cards. I don't have to be so restraining, and I just get to get a mail day here and there and show them to you. We got a bunch of cards we're going to look at today. Got a Kellogg's card, 1983. We got an 81 Topps, rolling all the way into the 90s, even a card from 2001. A bunch of players, a bunch of cards I want to show you. Guys like a Rich Murray and Kent Hrbek. Just happy to be here tonight catching up with you, and I would say welcome to the Rated Rabbi Sports Card Podcast, where sports cards and pop culture meet the 1984 All-Star Game. I am your host, Rabbi David Spinrad. Welcome to episode 62, Brian Johnson and Brian Johnson. We're in the top half of the sixth inning. But before we get back to the action, I want to take a moment to remember UL Washington. Died yesterday, age 70. UL Washington, 10 seasons in the big leagues. Most notably, UL played for the Kansas City Royals, the Montreal Expos. What'd you know UL for? Everyone, you know exactly what it is. UL Washington played with a toothpick in his mouth, of course. Everyone knows that. There it is, 1981 Topps. Got that beautiful big fro bushing out from the Royals hat and a toothpick right side of his mouth. Come on, man. That is an awesome card, toothpick. Little known fact about UL Washington, Topps got this wrong. They have it U.L. Actually, no, I'm sorry. He did spell it that way, but it didn't stand for anything. It's not like, Ulysses Leon Washington. It's just UL. But he did punctuate it with the periods for the abbreviations. UL Washington, Ulysses Leon Washington. R.I.P. Rest in peace. Alav HaShalom. May his memory be ever for a blessing. I got one more UL Washington piece to show you at home. I am holding up on the camera. This is same year as the Topps card. This is a 1981 game used UL Washington toothpick. No, I'm just kidding. It's not. I made a prop. I'm just goofing around. It's not really a UL Washington game used toothpick, although that would be awesome. I would even buy just like a replica one. If they were clever enough to make it, it's not really a toothpick. I would break my rule about game used for a card. Oh my God, UL Washington game used toothpick. That would be so amazing. Top of the sixth inning. We've been in the top of the sixth inning. For those who are regular listeners, you might recognize we've been in the sixth inning now for 3 months. We went back right around 3 months back, episode 45, 46, Dwight Gooden of the imagination, Dwight Gooden of reality, episode 45, 46, 3 months ago. Here we are, episode 62. I promise you we're moving forward. We're just enjoying the ride. Eddie Murray on second base, blue double. Dave Winfield stepping in, leading the major leagues with a 370 average. Al mentions 35 points ahead of the nearest competitor in the American League. Who was hitting 335 at the break? Why, it was this guy, Herbie. Kent Hrbek, shown here, 1983 Kellogg's. I sent away for this whole set. Really cool. So last year they made the Kellogg's 3D Superstars. I sent away for the set when I got back into collecting in January of 2021. It was so fun to rediscover these weird things I'd held on to for all these years, including the complete set Kellogg's All Stars. Hrbek was a darn good player, right? 14 years, Minnesota Twins, a Minneapolis native. I don't know if Topps has made a fan favorite archive of Kent Hrbek, but they should, right? You always think of Hrbek and the Twins and Minnesota. 14 seasons, 38.6 WAR, 1,749 career hits, 293 home runs, lifetime slash line of 282, 367, and a 481 slug. Career 128 OPS plus. Pretty good. That's 28% better than league average. What else can I tell you about Kent Hrbek? Kent Hrbek, 1982, finishes second in the AL Rookie of the Year award. Finishes behind only Cal Ripken. 1984, this very same season, is his career year. 1984, Kent Hrbek finishes second in the American League Most Valuable Player voting. Willie Hernandez, about 300 votes. Hrbek second at 250. So not a blowout. What a season Hrbek. Doesn't make the All-Star game. His only All-Star team is 1982, the rookie year. 84 is the career year. You've got Carew, you've got Murray. Wasn't meant to be for Herbie, but what a season. 5.6 WAR, 27 home runs, 107 runs batted in, quadruple slash line of 311, 383 on base, 522 slug, and a 906 OPS. Won 2 World Series, 1987, 1991. If you remember, though, Hrbek struggled in both of them. However, he did redeem himself in the bottom of the sixth in the decisive game against the Cardinals in 1987 with a grand slam off of Ken Daly. I go deep, deep, deep into the minutia of Kent Hrbek in the 1987 World Series. Hrbek retires and always battles all the injuries, in and out of lineup. After the strike in 94, Hrbek retires. In 2000, he becomes one of 6 inaugural inductees into the Minnesota Twins Hall of Fame. Who are they? I'll give you a second to think about it. 6 Twins in the inaugural class of the Minnesota Twins Hall of Fame. Who are they? Well, Hrbek's 1. Kirby Puckett's got to be 2. Rodney Klein, Rod Carew's 3. Harmon Killebrew's 4. Those are all pretty easy. Now we're dig a little deeper. Tony Oliva, number 5. And the 6th and final member of the 2000 inaugural class of the Minnesota Twins Hall of Fame owner, Calvin Griffith. Hrbek is one of only 189 players in the history of Major League Baseball to play 10 or more seasons with one team. Only 189 players in the entire history of Major League Baseball have played 10 seasons with just one team, right? 10 or more seasons their whole career with just a single team. Only 189 guys have long careers with a single team, right? Seems like there'd be more, but there's not. That'd be a fun collection. Guys who played 10 or more seasons with just one team. I was hoping Brandon Crawford would be one of those guys, but he wasn't done with the Giants. Were done with him. We love DeCraw. Always have a soft spot. 2 World Series. What's he have? 4 gold gloves for the Giants. Weird seeing him in a Cardinal uni, but I wish him well. All time, who played the most seasons with a single team? In the American League is Collier, Yastrzemski, Brooks Robinson. Both of them, of course, played 23 seasons with the Red Sox and the O's, respectively. In the NL, Mel Ott for the Giants and Stan the Man, Stan Musial, each played 22. Eddie Murray is on second base. Makes me think back to the old days and remember the Giants once had a Murray of their own. No, they didn't have Eddie Murray. Didn't have that sweet swinging first baseman. They had his younger brother, Rich Murray. It's true. We're going to go there right now. Rich Murray. That's right. Played, actually did a little something, got enough going in 1980 that both Fleer and Topps thought Rich Murray, he's got the pedigree. He's Eddie Murray's brother. Both Fleer and Topps, I'm showing them on the screen right now, have a Rich Murray card. That is 81 Fleer. 81 Fleer is one ugly card. 81 Topps, also my least favorite one of the decade. Whatever. Rich Murray has a card in 81 Topps and 81 Fleer. 1980 would prove to be the highlight of his career at 4 home runs and 24 RBIs. Rich and Eddie Murray, second all-time brother home run combo. Eddie Murray, 504. Rich Murray, 4. Second behind, the Aaron brothers, of course, Hank and Tommy Aaron. Oh, didn't think we were going Rich Murray tonight. We're not going there for very long. I just wanted to indulge myself in decadence. Eddie Murray. Let's look at a card. Right, we've seen a few cards already. UL Washington, Toothpick, double dip on Eddie Murray. We haven't seen like a card. Let's look at this card. Let's go. Full screen layout. Take a look. If you're listening, it is Eddie Murray rookie card, 1978 Topps. God, this is a gorgeous card. You know how I feel about 78. First year I collected. 1978 Reggie, to me, is the greatest card of the decade and a top 10 card from the 20th century. But this one is pretty darn good, too. Eddie Murray, 1978 Topps rookie card. Let's start with the layout, the familiar script, Orioles bottom left, all caps Eddie Murray across the bottom, clean design. Beautiful, beautifully centered. I'm actually showing one that I took from the PSA website. This is a PSA 10. This Murray card is notoriously offside. A PSA 9 can cost you, what, $1,000? Easily, right? A PSA 10, forget about it. Actually, what is a PSA 10? I think it costs more than $1,000. The PSA 10, this card right here, forget it, right? Of the 12,518 Eddie Murray cards, since 1978 Eddie Murray cards graded by PSA, 12,518. How many have come back a PSA 10? But 18. That's right. Only 18 out of 12,518 Eddie Murray cards, 1978 Topps PSA 10. This is an image of one of them. Beautifully centered. Bottom right-hand corner, Trophy Cup, Topps All-Star Rookie, the Golden Cup, bottom right-hand corner. But it's really the image, to me, that takes the card. Right. Composition slightly right of center, and Eddie, fierce. It's so rare when you see a young player who's fully formed. Eddie Murray is fully Eddie Murray in this card, and he is staring right into the lens of the camera. End of a warm-up swing. Forearms rippling, wristband, old school Orioles helmet, black with the white with the bird, a smiling Oriole, Orioles across the chest, number 33. Look at him, man. Horseshoe mustache, Eddie Murray, rookie, fully formed. Man, one of the great players of the 80s Eddie Murray. Let's run down some of his numbers, shall we? Eddie Murray plays 21 seasons in the major leagues. Pretty good. 68.6 career WAR. He wins that Rookie of the Year in 77, wins a World Series in 83. He is an 8-time All-Star. He wins 3 Gold Gloves. He wins 3 Silver Sluggers. He has 3,255 hits. He has 504 home runs, one of only 7 players in the history of Major League Baseball to have 500 or more home runs and 3,000 or more hits. In 1984, Eddie Murray is in his prime. From 81 through 86, he made the All-Star team every time. From 81 to 86, he finished in the top 5 of the American League MVP voting each and every year. 1984, plays 162 games, wins the Gold Glove, wins the Silver Slugger, finishes 4th in the most valuable player, and he is balling, right? He's coming off that World Series champion. Oh my God, Eddie Murray sitting on top of the world. Is it any wonder that earlier on in the broadcast, Al and Howard opined that Eddie Murray rightfully should have been the starter? Eddie Murray should have been the starter at first base in that All-Star game. Disclosure, if I at any other time confused Eddie Murphy for Eddie Murray and did notice it, give me a break. You know how I feel about both of them. After the 1988 season, Eddie Murray is looking for big money. He was ready, right? He's getting a little old, but he's not old, right? Only in his early 30s. LA, they'll say, we'll take him. Right? An off-season deal. He's traded to the Dodgers. Going back to Baltimore, Juan Bell and Ken Howell. Plays a few years in LA, 89, 90, 91. 92 goes as a free agent to the New York Mets. 92, 93, a Met. 93, 94, 95, 96, he's in Cleveland. Starts to bounce, right? More of a DH now, but still a big league hitter, switch hitter, power, average both sides of the plate. Couldn't field anymore, right? Kind of getting to later stage Eddie Murray. 1996, the Indians traded him back to Baltimore for Kent Mercker. That's right. Finishes out the season with Baltimore. Perfect. You know what? You should retire. You're 41 years old. Your legacy is complete. You have over 3,000 hits. What's there left to prove? I'm Eddie Murray. I'll tell you when I'm done. So instead of retiring in Oriole, he signs a free agent deal with the Angels down in Anaheim. 160 at-bats, age 41, 1997. 3 home runs, 15 ribbies as an Angel. Sounds like that would be a good card for Iowa Dave. Eddie Murray in an Angel uniform. Hits 219 with a 273 on-base percentage. And the Angels, it's so sad when they fade, man. They DFA him. Angels release him in August, unemployed for just a week. Dodgers in a stretch run, trying to hold off the Giants. They make a move. They sign Eddie. Listen, still Eddie Murray, veteran presence, good solid guy in the clubhouse. A little extra switch hit, bat off the bench, can pinch hit. Ends up playing in 9 games for the Dodgers, all as a pinch hitter. 9 at-bats, 2 hits, including a double and 3 runs driven in. Eddie Murray's at the very end of his career when his arc and my arc intersect. September 1997, I just moved back from living in New York for the last several years, living in San Francisco. Dodgers come to town up on the Giants by 2 games. These are good times. It's good times. I'm going to both games. I'm not married. I went with my girlfriend. We went with a couple of buddies. Went to the night game. Sat in front row, left field bleachers. Just tormented Dodger left fielder, the former Giant Darren Lewis. D. Lou had a great time. The night game. Bonds hit a home run in the bottom of the first, and that was it for them. Giants hold on 2-1. The recently acquired Roberto Hernandez shuts the door. Giants are within 1 game. No doubt we're going back the next day to the day game. So fun. Oh, I don't mind being my age now because I got no regrets on my life when I was younger. I feel very satisfied. Okay, it's a day game. The Giants are battling the Dodgers. It's September 1997. They're one back. This game is tied up at 5 apiece. It's going to extras. Shooter comes in. Hrbek comes in. Top of the 10th. Immediately gets into trouble. Leadoff single to Mike Piazza. Then a base hit by Eric Karros, 2 on, nobody out. Another base hit, Raul Mondesi. Dodgers have the bases loaded, nobody out. Gets Todd Zeile looking. Bases loaded, 1 out. 5-5, top of the 10th. Giants trying to keep pace with the Dodgers, trying to draw even. Who comes up off the bench batting for Dodger pitcher Antonio Osuna? Eddie Murray. What are you like? Duh. It's Eddie Murray comes up to the plate, and the place is going nuts, man. Becca's on the hill, right? Mullet blowing in the wind, arms swinging. That game was sitting third base side upstairs. And Eddie Murray hits a slow bouncer to Jeff Kent, second base. Kent charges it, comes up, makes a great throw to the plate catcher Brian Johnson, who whips it down the first double play. Murray hits into a double play, side retired, game stays tied at 5. Giants don't score, bottom of the 10th. Giants don't score. Dodgers don't score in the 11th inning. Now, here we go to the top of the 12th. Beck, another scoreless inning. Hrbek gives him 3 scoreless innings. Bottom of the 12th inning. Pitching for the Dodgers, Mark Guthrie. And up steps Oakland native, Skyline High graduate, backup to Gary Payton as the point guard for the Skyline basketball team. Turned down the draft because he wanted to go to college, goes to college. His quarterback for the Stanford Cardinal is the catcher for the Stanford Cardinal, wins 2 college World Series. Brian Johnson, I am showing you in 1998. I'll take it out of the sleeve so you can see it. 1998 Upper Deck Brian Johnson. It's kind of hard to read, but I'm going to read what the left says. I'm going to describe the moment I'm describing is described on this card. September 18th, 1997. Hits 12th inning homer to clinch dramatic win. How perfect is that? I found a card that describes this moment. This 1998 Brian Johnson hits a walk-off home run. I can still hear Dwayne Kuiper go, and we are tied. Giants sweep the Dodgers 2-game series. Brian Johnson, it's a walk-off home run. He was acquired in the season, mid-season, had this great stretch run for the hometown team. Brian Johnson, man. Oh, how did we get here? Oh, end of the road, right? Eddie Murray. This is Eddie Murray's last card. This is a Donruss 1998, and he's in a Dodger uniform. doesn't play this season. He retires, but they got him in a uniform. One of his 9 at-bats, they have a photo. It's the Leaf 50th anniversary by Donruss. Eddie Murray's last card. Oh, man, these last cards are not pretty. I got a card of Murray in a Dodger uniform. 9 at-bats, they still made a card. But the real card of the hour is this Brian Johnson. When Brian Johnson gets traded, eventually they all get traded. He plays for a few more teams, a few more years. When Brian Johnson gets traded, he actually takes out an advertisement in the Bay Area paper, San Francisco Chronicle, Oakland Tribune, I think also the San Jose Mercury News, took out took out an ad, a photo of him hitting that game-winning home run against the Dodgers and thanking the fans. It was the coolest, classiest thing. He just thanked the fans for the opportunity to play for the Giants, and I just was so just appreciative. It was incredible. So where do we go from here? Well, if we're talking Brian Johnson, the only place we can go from Brian Johnson is to Brian Johnson. Yes, AC/DC lead singer Brian Johnson, shown here in a 1991 Brockham music card. Brian Johnson, AC/DC lead singer, took over after Bon Scott died. Didn't die of a broken heart. Some say it was an OD. Others say it was alcohol poisoning. Anyway, AC/DC is just about to hit the very top. Highway to Hell comes out 79. Bon Scott dies. The band is bereft. They consider disbanding. How can we go on without the heart, without the soul of Bon Scott? I'm like, that, we're not that old. We're still pretty young. We're making a lot of money. Let's keep going. Brian Johnson was a known commodity, and so they asked him to join the band. He was tickled pink because Brian Johnson's first album as a member of AC/DC is It's Back in Black, baby, 1980. Recorded over the course of 7 weeks in the Bahamas. That had to be fun. Whew. Brian Johnson, man. Back in Black is timeless. It's like Welcome to the Jungle. Took Me All Night Long. Giving a Dog a Bone. All of it. Evergreen, man. Brian Johnson. AC/DC. What's your best AC/DC song? Is it Highway to Hell? The Dirty Deeds, Done Dirt Cheap. Shook Me All Night Long. TNT. Or is it this one? Hear the dong, dong, that guitar starts. Is it, I'm holding up Hell's Bells. I love it. And the card I'm holding up, the walkout song is Hell's Bells. The player's got to be Trevor Hoffman. This is one of the great ugly baseball cards. I don't know where I got this from. I had it in my collection. This is a 2001 Fleer, 20th anniversary, Trevor Hoffman. It's a terrible card. 1981 design on the front with that cursive ball. Right? And then the back kind of looks like 87 Fleer. This is the end of Fleer. They're just lazy. They're not even trying. Ugh. What's the best walkout music of all time? What do you think, Hell's Bells? I know some of you are going to go Enter Sandman or Metallica, Mariano Rivera. Maybe the new school among you might say Edwin Diaz, Narco. It's got that good trumpet. Do you know what the first walkout music was? You know I do. I did the homework. The first walkout music was Sparky Lyle, 1972. Pomp and Circumstance. You know the graduation song? Da, 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 da. That was the original walkout music, Sparky Lyle, Yankee Stadium, 1972. Pomp and Circumstance, man. Come on. I think Hell's Bells just edges out Enter Sandman. What else do we have? Eckersley used to do Bad to the Bone, but I didn't think that was a great fit. Eric Gagne used to do Welcome to the Jungle. Somebody else did Welcome to the Jungle. Kimball, maybe? I know Gagne did Welcome to the Jungle. Smoltz does. What song? Smoltz does something. Smoltz did like an ABBA song. Somebody help me with that one. I think they did Dancing Queen, which is not quite. What was his name? Reddick. Josh Reddick used to do "Careless Whisper" by Wham for his walk up music. All right, it's getting late. I'm gonna wrap it up. I want to ask you, what's your walkout music? You're a closer coming out, nostrils blowing smoke out of your nose, coming on, hair on fire. Is it Wild Thing, Mitch Williams? Is it, what's your walkout song? I'm going Big Balls by ACDC. I think that's a good one. Just come out swaggering. Oh man. All right. Last little bits we're gonna do. Let me show you a card I did not buy this week. 1933 DeLong of Vernon Lefty Gomez. Lefty was a hometown hero for me growing up, and I love these 33 DeLongs so much. But I was disciplined. I didn't overspend. And I wasn't sure about this example. I feel like a little burn mark or something in the top right quarter of the right side of the card. So I passed on it, but someday I want this 33 DeLong Lefty Gomez, but not my day. Do not have a mail day like that. But I did buy a big card. Biggest card I've bought since I bought my 52 Mays at the beginning of September. It's a pretty big card for me. I'm really excited. It's a top 6 card for me. Just bought it tonight. Hopefully I'll have it in hand to show you on the next episode. What did we do tonight, man? We went, the places we've been and the things we've seen. We talked about constraints versus restraint, and the importance of having some healthy boundaries to liberate us. Talked about Kent Hrbek. We talked about Rich Murray, the other Murray. We talked about Eddie Murray. We talked about that great 2-game set, Giants Dodgers, September '97. Oh, halcyon days of yore, going to back-to-back games on a weekday. That was good. Talked about Eddie Murray bouncing into a double play. Talked about Brian Johnson walk-off home run, bottom of the 12th to tie the West. Talked about the other Brian Johnson from AC/DC. Did a little exploring best walkout music. I'm still going. Hell's Bells, Trevor Hoffman. You might think of Enter Sandman, Mariano Rivera. Tell me who you would choose. What song would you choose for walkout music? I gotta wrap this thing up until we meet again. May you enjoy and may you be blessed with health and with long life. So long for now.